All right, joining me again today is Naomi Brockwell, creator of NBTV Media. Thank you again, Naomi. We're going to continue our conversation here. And I want to jump into a couple of topics. One is there's two tokens that I want to take a look at a little bit closer. One being Hedera. We've had Vance on, their founder or their CEO operator, and really kind of the growth of what we've seen over recent movement within Hedera, partnerships, et cetera. And then also Fantom. And in general, when you look at the ecosystem of where altcoins are going, what are you seeing in the market right now that is most interesting to you? Because obviously we see a lot of people trying to circle around Ethereum, in the essence of dealing with gas fees, all those kind of things. Anything particular about these two projects that impress you?
Yeah, well, I think that it's kind of this fight for layer one tech for an Ethereum killer. And we've seen a lot of new projects emerge that have tried to take that mantle. Ethereum obviously was this first mover that created this whole DeFi boom, this wonderful blossoming of decentralized financial tools that we've seen. And there are these things called money Legos, where all of these different platforms are interoperable, which makes it really cool because you can buy that token, then stake it there, get a token which you can stake back there, and then it moves into that one. Like, it's all interoperable and really, really cool. So Ethereum has this tremendous first mover advantage in the space. But what's happened is everyone loves it. Gas fees are through the roof. Transactions take a long time. And I mean, if I wanted to go and mint an NFT, for example, it's going to cost me hundreds of dollars. If I wanted to have like a railgun a transaction, execute a private smart contract on Ethereum, it's going to cost me like $400 to execute that smart contract. So a lot of the tools that people have come to know and love about Ethereum just aren't useful anymore. Some of the early projects like Augur, it's not financially viable to use a decentralized betting market on Ethereum right now because it's so expensive to make each transaction. And so what we've seen, obviously, you have different groups trying to solve that on Ethereum with these different second layer solutions. There are like 4 major ones that are kind of competing to be that second layer solution. But then in the meantime, you've had all these layer one chains come out of the woodwork and say, well, we're going to be a viable alternative. You don't need to worry about potential inoperability of second layer solutions. We're all going to be like layer one, and we're going to be scalable. We're going to be layer one, and we're going to have low transaction fees. So there is a real attraction to that. We've seen things like Binance Smart Chain just kind of boomed, and they drew a lot of attention, a lot of liquidity. Solana is another one. Hedera, Cardano. Like, there are a lot of projects out there. Fantom, you mentioned, who are vying for this kind of Ethereum killer mantle. It's a huge question as to whether they will succeed, because Ethereum is also working on its own scaling solutions. They're moving to proof of stake as well. They've got Ethereum 2.0. All of that has been in the works for years and years. So it's kind of become this running joke of, Ethereum 2.0, it's 18 months away. It's like always 18 months away. So, I definitely think it's 18 months away until it's not, right? And we are getting closer, and it's getting really exciting. The question is, are some of these other projects going to extract all of that liquidity, all of that market share before Ethereum has a chance? I don't know that they are, to be honest. And we've seen this with FTX. FTX poured a ton of money into Solana, for example, for like NFT stuff. And then FTX turned around and said, actually, the liquidity in terms of just user interaction just wasn't there. Even though the technology is better, the users are all still on Ethereum. So right now, if you want to go to the markets, you need to find the markets that people are actually involved with. And, this has been proven throughout history. The best technology doesn't always win. It doesn't matter that there are new chains out there that perhaps have already solved a lot of these issues. They solved it at the foundational layers, so they don't need to do all of this like band-aids that Ethereum's trying to do, or complete overhauls that they're trying to do. And so you have potentially better technology, and people are just not flocking to it because the users aren't there. And if you look at a group that is building their smart contracts on Ethereum, do they hire an entire new development team to take a bet? And if so, which chain are they taking a bet on? Is it Solana? Is it Binance Smart Chain? Is it Hedera? Is it Tezos? Is it any of these others? And they definitely, they're dividing labor at that point, or they could add more resources to actually figuring out how to make Ethereum work. And that's where all of their users are. So it's a real question as to whether these other chains will actually get traction. I personally am really bullish about Ethereum. I think that it's just such a remarkable team, so many projects built on it. I definitely don't see it going away anytime soon. But there are other projects that I'm also really excited about. Like Avalanche is an interesting consensus protocol. So AVAX is a very interesting tool that I'm sort of keeping an eye on. Zcash at the moment is exploring smart contracts. I'm a huge privacy person. And so I think that privacy is going to become a major theme of the coming years when we realize how open these transactions are, how traceable everything is, how anyone can look at these public blockchains and kind of trace the history of our money. People are going to start to wake up to how dangerous that is to have that all out in the open. And so the fact that Zcash is exploring like smart contracts and things now is really exciting. You've got like Railgun for Ethereum is like a privacy preserving tech being added to that. Lots of interesting stuff around privacy. I wish I could give you like a definitive, this is the coin you should buy, but it's really up in the air. And I think that different coins are going to have a real hard time fighting against Ethereum's first mover advantage.
Yeah, I think that, well, I would agree to a certain extent. I've been an Ethereum fan for quite some time. I've been very vocal about it on the channel, but at the same time, the evolution and my background being computer science, understanding what it takes a developer and a group of developers to do to shift an entire code set is rewriting a code set from the ground up is a daunting task. When you have and we did it at, when I was with Microsoft, we had this very issue coming on. We were rewriting code from IBM to eventually become the OS system of what you know as Windows today. And part of that, and the easy part of it, was that we had no competition. There was nobody rewriting that code. There was nobody out there. There wasn't thousands of companies soaking up the developers in the marketplace. I mean, literally soaking up developers. And we still had, at that era, to travel overseas just to get to developers that were good enough to write the code in the first place. So I look at that more from the computer science side, is that and the more I talk to CEOs from blockchain projects, whether it's John Wu over at Avalanche, or you look at what's happening over at Andrew with Tezos, or any of these guys, they all say the same thing, and that is developers. We need we need that transition of developers, even though Ethereum has kind of had the code set of developers in lock in the past. I feel like and the more I talk to more and more developers that are ex-Solidity developers moving away from Ethereum and jumping into some other chains. Hence the thing with, when I look at Fantom, and I just wanted to bring this up here, you've got a number of DEXs now that are moving into this. You've got cross-chain bridges, lending and borrowing, yield, NFT platforms. So my point is that if you have one project like this sucking away from a bigger project like Ethereum, who's in the middle of the biggest fight of their life, I feel like, in essence, of recreating the entire chain for Ethereum. And then you have projects like Hedera, which Hedera themselves, I mean, you look at the third generation of where Hedera is going. I mean, I'm always surprised at this in terms of their transaction per second speed, their average fees, their confirmations, their energy usage. Obviously, we know a lot of this is being addressed by what's happening with Ethereum right now. And I don't want to make this an Ethereum, versus the world. I feel like in some cases it
kind of is, though.
Yeah, it is a little bit. But at the same time, then you got guys like Mr. Wonderful. I mean, come on. Here you got Kevin who's saying, wait a minute, I'm thinking maybe Hedera, a little Polygon over here, and I like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana. So he's really kind of hedging his bets across all the good layer ones, I think, out there to kind of move to that next level. But if you look at that, of all the layer ones that you see really kind of overperforming right now, is there any out there that you would say, I'm really intrigued? You mentioned AVAX, which I would agree with what Avalanche is doing, really a very interesting project. Any others?
Well, here's where I'll kind of sneakily get out of your question. I think that it's going to become irrelevant because you have things like Thorchain, which are going to enable such an interoperability between all of these worlds. It doesn't matter which layer one you're going to be using. So you can share liquidity with all of these others and it doesn't really matter, So it's really exciting to see these, completely decentralized, truly decentralized exchanges emerge that enable bridges between what were isolated islands, walled gardens of blossoming, and now things like Thorchain are going to be enabling cross-chain action. So I mean, if I'm going to choose any, I would choose something like ThorChain. I would say this is like when everyone's going to the mines, rather than looking for gold, maybe start selling shovels. And I feel like that's what ThorChain has done. They're like selling these shovels. They're saying, no, we're not going to create our own, innovation tools here. We're going to enable the infrastructure that enables all these walled gardens to talk to each other. So I think, it's the next iteration of Uniswap. And we saw what Uniswap did to the world of crypto. It created this boom. I mean, we had automatic market makers, the concept before from Bancor, but it wasn't until Uniswap came along that they actually enabled that technology and brought it to mass market, and everyone, dived in because it was decentralized. So that's what ThorChain will be. Rune Token will be sort of this Uniswap, but for every chain. So definitely an interesting tool.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch this transition. I think one is going to be adoption as we see kind of those types of interoperability, elements play out in the crypto world, along with some of the, the project leads, but the marketing, and I think just the awareness of what many of these projects are pushing to, whether it's, developers, they're trying to move into play to earn. They have this, the play on DeFi, different kind of, strategies, which is in some cases a little bit convoluted, but at the same time, those are the feature sets versus ThorChain being really kind of the underlying, transaction engine, the rails, so to speak, of what is going to happen in crypto. And at some point, I think you're right. The key here for any mass adoption is simplicity. The easier we make it for people to onboard and go cross-chain and interoperate, just like with banks, even though today you just send an ACH, it's still 3 or 4 days away, which I still find, consider crazy. Considering
ACH,
our modern day banking
instant
system.
transactions. No.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Naomi, it's great to have you on the show. We definitely want to have you back on to pick your brain as things mature here in the 2022 season for cryptocurrency and all the things blockchain. So good luck on what you guys are doing over at NBTV.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. All right, so you guys are tuned in over on the podcast. Thank you so much for stopping in. We love to get your kudos over there. But of course, the best place is jumping right here on YouTube. And subscribe to the show. You get a chance to get these kind of interviews, a lot of our analysis, in-depth coverage on a lot of things blockchain, play to earn, gaming, you name it. We cover it in depth right here on TechBath. So make sure if you want to reach out to me, just hit me up on Twitter. It's @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechBath.